In this video, I want to talk a little bit about the grading and the complexity. And I will do a training session. I'll do multiple training sessions, and I will aim at having some videos online that really talk about this in a lot more detail. But when you look at a kid with motor planning problems or praxis problems or coordination issues or low muscle tone or any number of issues, problems with fatigue, I think we really have to look at finding a level that their child can get started at and where they feel competent and they feel like they can achieve and they feel like they're able to do it. And the reason that I started with this graded program is that apart from the fact that kids and us as adults, we're spending far too much time in front of screens nowadays with home learning and with remote learning. Apart from that, I think that we all should be not only engaging in cardiovascular exercise and strength building exercise, but I think we need to be challenging our bodies and our brains, and we need to be working on balance and flexibility and coordination and skill and rhythm and timing. And I'm hoping that these videos will do that for kids. As a little quick aside, I would love to do some videos for adults as well that have to do with relaxation and calming and visual and auditory sensory input. So I put a few of those on the website. I'm not sure. I might work on more on those. But if you want those, let me know and I'll make more of those. But the graded part of this program, the movements start off with one very simple movement, and that's M1. And you'll see that it's one movement repeated. So if it's a squat, it's only a squat. If it's a rotation, it is a rotation to the left and the right, but it's only one movement. It's left and right, but it's not a complex movement. So I started off with the M1 movements all being a single movement, not complex. And as that kid repeats it, hopefully they'll be able to repeat that same movement over and over again and improve with their skill with that movement and also keep up with the rhythm. I started off with M1, S1, obviously, because that would be the beginning point. S1 would be one very specific sound. So the reason I'm calling it sound is because it starts off with really more sounds and not really music. We all think of music as being melodious and interesting and fun and good to listen to. The movement and music starts off with S1, where it's more of a sound with a very specific beat and a very specific rhythm. And for auditory, it's not auditory comprehension, what's it? Auditory processing. You speech therapists will be able to discuss this in a lot more detail. I'm sure you could tell me what the right words are. But for your kids that really need to understand the auditory part of the beat, I created the first audio sounds with a very specific beat and very little confusing or complex additional sounds or beats. You'll see that in the M1, S1, the beat is very simple, the movement is very simple, and most kids, unless they really have significant movement and coordination problems, should be able to keep up with those very simple movements. And even if they're not able to initially, I would love to see you guys as therapists, you know all about data collection. One of the best ways of getting baseline data is video recording your students. So have your students do the videos, and obviously you know about permissions and about getting parent permission and about privacy. So I'm not even going to cover that here because as a therapist you should be doing that stuff anyway. If you're a therapist or a teacher or working with kids with special needs. If you're a parent, go ahead and video record your own child anyway because you're doing that anyway, I'm assuming. But if you can video record your students when they first start this program, and have them run through the program, what they're doing is following along and copying what the child on the video is doing. And they're not only copying the movement and following along with the movement, but they're doing it in time to the audio. So what you want to do is preferably have it on a big screen so the student can follow on a big screen. It's much harder on a phone or a small screen, but an iPad or Android tablet or a laptop computer or a desktop with a monitor, those are much easier for kids to follow along with. And your student will be watching the child on the screen, following along with the movement, and then crank the sound up. The louder you have the sound, especially if there's no one else around. If you have a room full of kids, maybe have the whole room full of kids do it and crank the sound up. I used to do that in my therapist training sessions, and the adult therapists used to absolutely love this program. I I've been limited now with doing it with groups of kids, but I was doing this with a lot of adults in the last year or so. And so the movement program, this whole program will gradually increase. At the moment, I've just got a few things on the website, but there'll be combinations of M1s, which will be the simple movements, with S1, S2, S3. So what I'll do is keep the movement simple, because you may have a kid that auditorially is very adept at picking up the rhythm, but physically they're having a hard time coping. So they might want to do an M1 program for quite a while, but they might increase the complexity of sound. So then they might pick an M1 S2 program, which will be simple movement but more complex sound. And then they could stay with the simple movement and even do more complex sound. So it might be an M1 and then an S3. So I'm hoping you're understanding that terminology of what the M's and the S's mean. And then once we get even beyond that, what I'd like to do, and I'd love to hear your feedback and whether you want this, is move from the very highly structured, just specific movement to things that are more like dancing moves, or just things that are more fun. So really upbeat music and sounds, fun sounds, real music, not just rhythms and made up sounds, but real music with a beat, and then have kids follow a sequence of steps. So really more like dance moves. So that's the goal. I would love to hear your feedback. If you get on YouTube and you're watching my videos, I would love it if you would do the subscribe. I know people get tired of hearing people say that, but the more people that hit the subscribe button, the more it tells me if people are actually watching or even interested in the videos, or if they're interested in future videos. So if you hit subscribe, it tells me that you're interested in future videos. So I would love to get your feedback. I'd love to know how your students are using this. Throw out questions if you have. I will try and answer all questions, especially as much as possible on video, and I will do an FAQ. And please hit subscribe on YouTube. I know you people hate hearing that all the time, but it actually does make a difference.